Thanks to the support as a channel member, Richard Myers. Well, here we go then, boys and girls. Championship transfer window. And this is the closest we'll get to a proper rebuild in the entire series, I think. We've got £7.5 million to spend, loads of wage budget, and 6 of last season's first teamers either leaving the club or going back to their parent clubs they're on loan from. This is going to be a very different looking Burton team by the end of this video. And that's assuming I don't get headhunted and end up managing somewhere else by the end of this video. Anything could happen. Hello and welcome to Club 2, Part 14 of Not League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode is our season review and transfer special, and it is beginning with frustration because we had the extension of Louis Jackson's loan. It was agreed we were going to pay him 11 grand a week. We had an optional future fee, obviously one that we weren't going to pay, unless, of course, we got promoted to the Premier League, then we might pay it. But either way, the transfer has been cancelled by the board because of competition wage restriction rules, because we haven't ticked over into the Championship yet, so we are still stuck in this silly FFP restriction, despite the fact that we've got our new wage budget, which is double roughly what our committed spend is at the moment, and we've got all that transfer money. So what it basically means, that is telling me I can't do anything until the game has realised we're a Championship team now, which means we might miss out on Jackson, and it means we can't start our transfers now. It's only the 26th of April. I don't know at what point we'll tick over to being a Championship team, but it's pretty clear we can't do any transfers until then, which is problematic because we're also going to struggle with contract renewals because we are right on the cusp of the League One FFP limit. We've only got £5,000 a week to play with, so we're not actually going to be able to do a huge number of contract renewals either. Not that necessarily Raheem Harper is somebody who would get a contract renewal. I know he's been a pretty valuable squad player for us over the last couple of years, but he did only start 3 games for us last season in League One. So I suspect he's not going to be taking the step up to the Championship with us, but it does highlight the issue that we're potentially going to have around other players who are going to want pay rises, and we're just not going to be able to hand them out. There you go. There's several of them there, although Stevanovic, we have already tried, and we know that he's not going to get a work permit, so he's leaving. And Alfie Whiteman, similar to the situation with Harper, I'm not sure that Whiteman is the man to make the step up to the Championship with us, especially not on the amount of money that he wants. I think, did I show this in the previous video? The contract that this guy wants. Absolutely absurd. It just isn't happening. So now the playoffs are concluded. We get our end of season review with a lovely little trophy on there, confirming, of course, that we did win League One last year. We also have our signing of the season award, which goes to Jack Clayton, as it should, I think. Jack Clayton came in on a free transfer, started almost every game, 24 goal contributions across the season. He's just been called up to the England under-20 squad for this summer's tournament, whatever flavour of summer tournament that is for the England under-20s. We've got ourselves a future star there in the shape of Jack Clayton, but we did have a lot of good signings come in over the course of the season. As you can see, lots of excellent players arriving. If we can have another summer as good as that summer that we had last year, we will be fine. We will stay in the Championship next year. The board expected us to reach the playoffs. Did they? I feel like they maybe were looking for mid-table and they've moved the goalpost a little bit there. I mean, it doesn't matter too much because we did ultimately go on and win the league. Worth noting as well, our average home attendance of over 5,000 does mean we're creeping closer and closer towards maxing out the capacity at the Pirelli. I don't know if it's got expansion capacity, and it's also worth noting as well that 3 sides of it are terracing, which we're not going to be allowed to get away with in the Championship long term. I don't know how long term the rules are and how the seasons that they've had in the Championship in the past count towards that number. I know as a Peterborough fan in real life, we were basically 1 promotion away from having to go all-seater, which is why we put safe standing in our remaining terrace. And I think we'd had like 3-4 years in the Championship before we had to make that move. So I don't think it's something we have to worry about this summer, but it is worth considering. The current ground is not fit for purpose long term as a Championship football ground, either in terms of capacity or the actual way that it's structured, with so much of it being terracing. So that's something that's going to have to be paid for at some point in the future. Probably after I've left, I would imagine, the amount of time it takes to build new grounds in Football Manager, and I guess in real life, the chances of me still being Burton manager when we move into a new stadium, fairly slim, I would suggest. Millwall came up through the playoffs, by the way, for those of you who were wondering. Moments to remember, I've already forgotten them, and our reputation hasn't changed this year, but money has increased across the board. So our already very high sponsorships actually increased, as did our broadcast revenue and all the other bits and bobs attached to that as well. Ross Stewart sells more shirts than anybody, as you would expect for our main striker. Andrin and Stevanovic and Harper, to be fair, all in the top 5. Andrin and Stevanovic definitely leaving. Andrin's already got his move arranged. Stevanovic can't get a work permit, so we'll be leaving. And Harper, we've already seen, wants a new contract. We're probably not going to be able to give him, and we're probably going to look to sell him. So there's going to be some new guys selling some shirts next summer or next season. This is our Dream 11, our team of the Dream 11, our team of the year from the season that's just gone. So Whiteman in goal, a back four of Samuels, Burke, Jackson and Long, Powell and Purcell in midfield. Purcell has extended his loan for another season already. We are going to try and do that with Jackson as well, once we're allowed to, if he'll agree at that point. Stevanovic, Andrin and Clayton then supporting Stewart up front. So looking at that best 11, we know Stevanovic and Andrin have already gone. Jackson probably going. Purcell is back, but rating wise might be looking for an upgrade. Whiteman is going to be leaving. Long perhaps needs an upgrade as well. There's a lot to do. Clayton, there's got to be questions about, not Clayton, sorry, Stewart, there has to be questions about with regard to fitness, as someone who's going to be turning 31 over the course of the next season with his injury record. Although in his defence, he did stay fit all last year. We used him very carefully. We certainly didn't play him up front consistently throughout the season, but he played enough to score 24 goals and win Player of the Year. So it'll be a tough sell to the fans to move him on at only 30 years old when he's been the guy who scored the goals to fire us up the leagues. If we have a look at the timeline, there you go, there's the timeline. The timeline exists, and that's our all-time best 11 as well. Most of them are now the team that are currently at the club. But if we look at Stewart, he started 22 games last season, came off the bench 21 times, scored 23 goals and averaged a 7.22. I think I've managed him very, very well based on his injury record. 43 games in a season is the second most of his entire career. The only time he played more than that was for Sunderland, when he was scoring all the goals for them in League One, 24 goals, and that was before his injuries happened. The last time he did that and got promoted to the Championship, he did start really well, 10 goals from 13, but then the injury problems started and he was never really the same until he then signed for us. If he can make that kind of step up to the Championship again, I'd be happy to rotate him for another season again. Just don't really want to rely on him as a starter because of those injury problems and what's happened to him in the past when he's hit this level. Right, we are still going to be tied down by this FFP, I think, even though season review, yeah. We've literally got to wait until this shows the Championship before we can get started on transfers. So I'm just going to hit continue a lot. Maybe try and sell someone once the window is open. Oh, hello. There's some awards that have come in here. So that's our record high points total. Cardiff want Powell. They'll be lucky with everyone else who's going to be leaving. I'll come back and do the recruitment meeting. In fact, I never do recruitment meetings on camera. I don't really do a lot with them. I will just open discussions with these guys it's recommending me open discussions with. I thought we'd already tied Clayton down. Apparently we haven't. I don't know how many of these contracts are actually going to be able to renew because of the FFP thing. Interesting that it's not suggesting I renew Ross Stewart just yet. I think I probably agree with that. See how he gets on with the step up. And then if we have a look at, yeah, I mean, he's definitely leaving because he can't get a transfer budget. Stockton, yeah, I'll reduce. Get rid of both of them. They're both going to be done. And it's recommending I sign a goalkeeper, which, well, who knew? With Whiteman leaving, who knew we would need to sign a goalkeeper? But that's literally all I do in recruitment meetings. Stewart finished as runner-up to Paul Mullin on the goal scorer thing. Whiteman won Golden Glove for the second year in a row. I can see why he wants big money, but he's just asking for too much money for a club like Burton, whatever level we're playing at. And that is the League One Team of the Year. That's quite the lower league strike partnership there, Stewart and Mullin. But let's get to hitting continue and waiting for the season to tick over so we can get started spending this big pile of cash that I want to spend. Well, the sponsorships just keep rolling in for Burton Albion. A £2 million telecommunications sponsorship now means even more money starting to flow through the door on the commercial side of things. It's absolutely bonkers the amount of money we make from sponsorships. I'm all for it. We're also increasing our ticket prices, which is expected to make our yearly earnings drop. I don't really understand that one. This is probably why I'm not the finance director. Our scouting package, we can probably afford more. We can do worldwide scouting now we're in the championship. This is bonkers. We've also managed to renew some contracts. So it seems that despite not letting me extend loans or do signings with the FFP, in fact, FFP is now gone. We've ticked over into the championship. I don't know why, because the league hasn't ticked over, but financially, we have ticked over into the championship. So we might be able to go and get Jackson now. What I was telling you is we have managed to extend Joe Powell's deal and put him on loads more money, which would have broken the old FFP. I guess that explains why. Another thing I've just noticed, I need to have a word with past Kev. Filip Stevanovic has got 3 years left on his contract. And from what I can tell, he always has. I don't know if this is the game glitching out. I'm going to have to go back and check previous videos. Maybe one of you lot could do that for me and let me know in the comments. I don't know if this is the game glitching out and just giving him a bigger deal, or if I've just got myself very confused about something that was never an issue, or I renewed his contract, got him a work permit and somehow forgot. But whichever one of those it is, he's got a contract and active work permit for the next 3 years. So he doesn't need to leave at all. I think what it is, I mean, it says at the bottom there, wants a new deal to reflect his ability. And it says there, currently has a work permit, but would not qualify for a renewal. So I think the issue we've got with Stevanovic is he wants a new contract. He wants a pay rise, but we can't give him one because he won't get a work permit on a new one. My question would be, can we just increase his salary to keep him happy without extending the period that the contract runs for? Because he is going to get grumpy, and I don't want him to get grumpy. We've already got Raheem Harper who's got grumpy and got people agreeing with his grumpiness. But if we can give Stevanovic, let's try. So we can't give him the wage that he wants, so we're not going to give him a match. We might not even be able to do the contract offer he wants anyway, because I'm not giving him all of these clauses, but I'll take him as far as that. Right, Stevanovic will need to blah, 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 blah. But Burton will have no remaining ESC places that they can allocate to allow him to play. So it's the fact we're not going to have an ESC that's the problem. So if we take that down to there, that's when his existing deal expires. So we're literally just giving him a pay rise to make him happy. Will he agree to that? No. It might be a case of we have to sell Stevanovic rather than he's going to be leaving, which is certainly better than in my head thinking he was going to be leaving for free. But let's go back in for Jackson. I'm going to try and get him again. And fingers crossed that deal with Manchester United is still on the table. Please, 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 please. Right. Hopefully he agrees to it again and we can get him in for another year. And that's one less player we need to go and sign then, because he's great. And there is the confirmation of Jackson's extension of his loan. We do now have an optional future fee of £23 million, which the only circumstances we'd potentially pay that is if he ended up a 5-star player and we ended up getting promoted this year and ending up in the Premier League and wanting to bring him in to be a Premier League defender for us. But as is, it's just a way to get him here for another year. We're not going to spend the money on him ever. But that is a huge piece of business. That is a championship quality starting defender straight into the club. I wonder if we can get Rojas to sign an extension as well. How many loans are we allowed in this league? If we go, I think you're allowed a lot, aren't you? I don't think there's particularly tight loan rules. Must have no more than 5 loan players in the squad. Well, at the moment we've got 2. So let's try and extend Rojas as well, who only joined us towards the end of last season. They want to test him in a different environment. Yeah, well, what if I pay all of his salary and agree an optional future fee At 13 million, that seems reasonable. Can we do that? No. Just a straight no. Never mind. Right, I'm actually reading the screen properly this time. I am happy to renew Stavanovic's contract based on the fact he's not going to get a work permit. But it does say there his current deal, he'll remain covered by his current work permit for another 3 years. So I think we can give him this deal. If in 3 years' time he still doesn't qualify for a work permit, we'll probably be wanting to sell him anyway. So we're going to complete that renewal. That's Stevanovic renewed at... Oh. Stevanovic unwilling to renew contract without a work permit. I mean, can I point out, he wants a new deal to affect his ability. He's got a mutiny that he's leading. I've promised him that I'm going to do it. He won't negotiate for a shorter contract, but now won't sign the one above. It's his fault. He can't get a work permit. That's not my fault. I've played him all season. Get yourself in the national team, you silly goose. I'd urge you to reconsider your current stance on a new contract. If we can't get things sort things out soon, we'll have no problem selling you. I don't want to threaten to sell him. We're confident we can secure a work permit for you in the near future. My sources tell me that isn't the case. So why are you pushing for a new contract then? We're not the same team without you. I'm officially withdrawing from negotiations. It's nothing personal. I just haven't been convinced by your efforts. I'm done talking to you. Does that mean you're not asking for a new contract anymore? No, it doesn't. Football manager things. In more positive news, we have been able to extend the loan of Felipe Rojas. We had to agree for a optional future fee of £20,500,000, but that is him tied down for another year on loan as well. So we've got our future Premier League star centre-back partnership of Jackson and Rojas in place. I don't know if we can complete the loan extensions and get Biancheri as well. I think that would be quite a nice deal to do. But then at the same time, we've only got so many loan spots, and I wonder if we can maybe do better. Is that harsh? Is he only earning £150 a week? Oh, with us. I was going to say, that's madness. Let's just test the water with Manchester United. We don't really want to pay him £10,000 a week. I mean, we can't even add in an optional future fee. Why is that? Is he out of contract with United next summer? Yes. So I don't think we can get Biancheri at all. We might just have to wait until next summer for that one. Oh, now this is a lovely little treat, a Christmas gift from past Kev that I forgot was arriving. Damien O'Donoghue on a free transfer from Manchester United. Look at the state of this one. Who cares about Biancheri? We've got an enormous upgrade on him in the shape of O'Donoghue, right winger, which frees Clayton up to play up front or potentially over on the left-hand side if Stevanovic does leave. That is a huge signing. Lovely old work. This one, less impressive. Can't win them all with these youngsters that get released by the Premier League clubs. But let's give those two some squad numbers. Get them welcomed in, and then have a look at the impact that has on the squad planner, because we still haven't really started transfers yet. We've renewed some contracts and renewed some loans, but Ross Stewart hopefully is about to sign a new contract extension on not a huge amount of money. It certainly wouldn't be the highest paid player at the club, so that's pretty impressive. We've got Clayton. I don't know why Stevanovic is not included on the squad planner. I can only assume he's about to lose his ESC status somehow. I don't really understand why he would. He's under contract for 3 more years. It says he's got an active... I don't understand the Stevanovic situation, but for whatever reason, he's not even showing up on the squad planner now. And I don't know why. Where is he? Stevanovic. Best suited, he should be on there. Right, and then can we... Weird. I don't know what's going on with Stevanovic, but he would obviously very much be a part of the squad. He must be about to lose the ESC, which is problematic. So let's assume Clayton, since the plan, yeah, who cares? Since Clayton would be our starter on the left, probably, and then O'Donoghue on the right, Ross Stewart up front. O'Donoghue can cover over there as well. We still got Lewis Cherrett around. We need attacking midfielders. Joe Powell can play there, but obviously losing Andrin and Azaz, Raheem Harper's going to be on his way out as well. We definitely need upgrades there. Kingsley Aziz will hopefully continue to develop. Still only 18 years old. He's homegrown and is going to be great. So we definitely want to be keeping Aziz involved in our team. And then we've also got Purcell on loan again. We've got Powell who can play there. The back four, obviously in defence, we've got Jackson and Rojas as starting defenders. And then we've still got some decent options running. Weirdly, Lonwick, who's also on an ESC work permit, is still on the squad planner. I don't know why Stevanovic is not. We definitely need a goalkeeper though, and probably a pair of fullbacks as well. So there's plenty to do, but plenty of money to do it with. We're 2 weeks away from free transfer day, so we're probably going to still wait for free transfer day and try and do as much of it with free transfers as possible, because the more we can do on free transfers, the bigger this squad is going to be able to get with quality players. That's a lot of money if we can fill all the gaps with free transfers. And now we don't have to worry about FFP in the same way. There's not even an FFP tab now. I think we just have to avoid making more than a £15 million loss over a 3-year period. As you can see, we're consistently making a profit, and that doesn't add up to 15 million. So we can stick it all on wage if need be. So I think that's probably the plan. I don't know why Stevanovic doesn't show up on the team, on the squad planner though. That's reason enough to sell him. I love the squad planner. I will forget he exists if he's not showing up on there. Wow. That's a nice offer to get. We did just offer him out via intermediary, but still, for a guy we're not really using, didn't start a game, 8 substitute appearances last year, to get £1 million for him. Yes, please. That works for me. Oh, what a time to be alive. New contract signed, £4,200 a week. Bear with me. We're doing some maths. £4,200 times 50. That's £220,000 a year. We probably do need to go house hunting again in the near future. And that just about confirms that I ain't leaving Burton this summer. We are in for the long haul. That is a 3-year contract. Well, contract expiry day and several first teamers from last year or the year before have now moved on. Whiteman, Taylor Richards, who we brought in for 6 months as cover. Cole Stockton has gone. Sam Long, our previous captain. Paul Smith, who we thought for a while was going to be an absolute superstar, have all moved on and left the club, which does free up a nice little chunk of wage budget and leave the squad planner looking a little more bare than it did before. Pretty clear where the really big gaps on there are. But Ross Stewart has now signed his new contract, so he's tied down for 3 years, £13,500 a week. It is a big contract to give a man with his injury history, but I mean, he's too important to us. He scores goals. I think we'll have another striker around the place as well, even if it ends up being Clayton or O'Donoghue, whichever one of them is not playing out wide. I still haven't solved the Stevanovic on the left-hand side of midfield in the squad planner problem. He'll be evaluated for a standard work permit on the 9th of July, so I guess we don't find out anything until then. Lonwick, who had the other ESC place, is leaving. He leaves tomorrow. So if we hit continue a couple of times, Stevanovic is going to be a problem because he did have people supporting him. He now doesn't have it. Maybe people have watched the absolute nonsense that just went on with him trying to force himself a loan and force himself a new contract, then refusing to sign it. But hopefully the 9th of July, he'll just get a normal work permit, at which point we can just give him the new contract that he wants. I'm hoping, but there's Lonwick. That's his confirmation that he is leaving the club for £1.2 million. That's a good piece of business. Angerin, I'm angry as well, fans. Believe me, I'm angry that that's happened. He'd have earned 3 times that playing for us. Absolute madness. Blackpool want to take Lewis Brown on loan. If they want to pay his full salary, we will happily let him go. Still only 21 years old, so plenty of time for him to fulfill his potential. Got 5-star potential, which could make him a decent championship player in the future, i.e. a player we could use, but he needs game time. that transfer last year has stalled him a little bit. He'd obviously had 2 years of first team football at Tamworth, not really got a look in for us last year though. So a year out on loan at Blackpool, playing regular first team football will do him the world of good and hopefully get him ready to step in when Jackson goes back to Manchester United next summer. So now that all of that has gone through, this is what the squad looks like, much smaller than it was before. First team squad of 20 players, in fact 19, because Beaumont Clark is out on loan for the season. We've already loaned him out. Have we got anyone in the dev centre? George Marlowe, who is a young right back that we signed on a free transfer from Chelsea last summer. He was out on loan at Fylde for the season. You know what? Get him in the first team squad. Let's have a proper look at him over the course of the summer. If we can ask the assistant to sort that. That's the squad. And that's the squad depth. So we need at least one goalkeeper, a couple of attacking midfielders, and then we can start strengthening positions who are a little weak. I mean, left midfield, I've got to keep reminding myself we've got Stevanovic. Hopefully in 9 days that gets sorted, because we're allowed 2 ESC places and he's one of them now. So I don't really understand. I mean, if we have to sell him, we're going to get an absolute ton of money for him. He's worth £10 million. So it might not be the worst thing in the world if we sell him. Oh, we've also sold Raheem Harper as well. He went to Millwall for 1.1 million. So money-wise, things are looking pretty good. It is free transfer day. So hopefully we can start bringing in a couple of superstars now, because I assume at the moment we're expected to go straight back down. Second bottom is the media prediction currently. We need to do some transfers. Well, Stevanovic has now been given a work permit for the remainder of his current contract, rather than the ESC he was on. So we've now offered him a new contract. Weirdly, it still says currently has a work permit but would not qualify for renewal. He literally just was given a work permit for 3 years today. We've offered him a new contract. We'll see what happens. We've also started to make a few signings. Josh Wilson-Esbrand is in as our new left back. He joins on a free transfer from Manchester City via everywhere else that he's been on loan. He's had time on loan in the Championship, a couple of seasons down in League One. We needed a left back. He is that. This guy, very excited about. Miles Leaburn is a 6'5" striker. Guess what kind of football we're going to be playing this coming season? 6'5". He's apparently as good as Ross Stewart as well, which is very, very exciting. Was subject of a £3.6 million transfer to Burnley, started at Charlton, scored a decent number of goals in League One, although he didn't in that actual season that was simulated by the game, but joined Burnley, was then sent out on loan, where he's had time on loan in the Championship with QPR. Huddersfield, was last year down in League One, scoring 14 goals. He's not necessarily going to be a 30-goal a season striker, but at 6'5", goodness me, is he going to be handy to come off the bench? With our corners, he might be a 30-goal a season striker. Either way, for a free transfer, it seemed like a bit of a no-brainer. We're having to pay him an extraordinary amount of money, but I think it's worth it. Did I mention he's 6'5"? Very excited about that. Stefan Bajic is in as our backup goalkeeper. He is previously of Bristol City. We've had to pay £56,000 for him. Not happy with him as the first choice necessarily yet, although he probably is an upgrade on Whiteman. I'm actually thinking of bringing in Danny Ward, who we've currently delayed. We're waiting to see if we can find anybody better, but Danny Ward may well be coming in over the top of Bajic as our starting keeper, having played for QPR for the last couple of years. Maybe mainly as a 1-year stopgap while Bajic starts to fulfill some of his potential. He's 25. He's agreed to be the backup. We don't have to rush him straight into the first team. And then we've also signed Alex Jimenez, who is a Spanish 22-year-old right back who joins on a free transfer from Real Madrid. Previously had a loan with AC Milan as well. So a couple of decent signings in. The Lonwick deal out has gone through. I can't remember if that had gone through before or not. We're trying to finalise a goalkeeper. What we don't have yet is an attacking midfield player. So that is now the number one highest priority, because if we can't find a couple of attacking midfielders, we are going to have to change the system, probably to the 4-2-4 that we've been training for a little while now, which I guess would then involve playing Leaburn and Stewart together, which would be an interesting proposition. I think they would probably score a lot of goals. but I would rather stick with what we've done to get us where we are so far. So attacking midfield and goalkeeper still the priority that it was before. We've still got loads of money, so I'm not worrying yet. It's only the 10th of July, and fingers crossed this Stevanovic situation resolves itself. Now he's had a work permit. Hopefully he'll get another work permit. There's a few guys potentially on the way out of the club, most notably Tomkinson, who should be joining Ipswich with 3.8 million. Considering he wouldn't be a starter anymore, I think that's a pretty sensible piece of business. We probably would need to bring in another defender if he goes, but we've still got Reece Burke and Lewis Brown, and obviously Jackson and Rojas are going to be our starters. We've got Toby Oakes, our own youngster, who came through our own youth system, who's now 21 and probably ready to be in the first team squad as well. So we've already let Lonwick go. I think we can happily let Tomkinson go as well and still be fine. We did try and sign this guy, but he decided to go to Cardiff instead, which is very upsetting. We've had a few of those, and we also tried to sign this guy, but he's gone to Peterborough. Like I say, there's been a few. Biancheri is being sold by Manchester United for 400,000 to Hull. I'm tempted to get involved. I mean, he was a good player for us last year, but with O'Donoghue coming in, I think O'Donoghue is probably better if we do the comparison of the two. They're very... I just don't think we need both of them and Clayton at the club. I think they all get in the way of each other. They're all young. They all need game time to develop. I think Biancheri just gets in the way. I would like to bring him back. It's a tricky one. Well, this is getting more and more ridiculous, this Stevanovic situation, because he's now been declined a work permit. He was given his work permit 2 days ago. And we've now offered to almost quadruple his salary and extend him by just 1 year. If the appeal fails, we have 4 ESC work permit slots available. Right, well then let's appeal and ESC him then and get the new contract done, because at the moment, the fact he's not got a contract is problematic. So let's get the new contract sorted. By the way, we have got other bits and bobs going on. That's interesting that Oakes doesn't want to leave the club. We are, as you can see, trying to sign Xavier Simons from Hull, but we have confirmed the signing of Danny Ward. So Danny Ward is in probably just for a year to be our starting goalkeeper. And then we've got a couple of other players that we are looking to bring in as well, some midfield players, a defender. So we are working on stuff, but Stevanovic really is still number one priority. We need to get this Stevanovic situation sorted pronto. Finally, we have the Stevanovic situation sorted. He has a new 4-year contract. He has an ESC place allocated to him for another year, which weirdly shows on here as active work permit for 4 years. I don't really understand how the ESC system works. But you know what? We got our boy. And that gets him off the Grumpy Boys list. And being off the Grumpy Boys list is important. We're in the process of trying to give Samuels a new contract as well. We're trying to loan these two out, but no one is biting at the moment. But this squad is starting to take shape, and there is still plenty of money knocking around following the sale of Tomkinson to Ipswich for 3.8 million. It's a club record sale. Our previous biggest sale was £2 million, so it almost doubles that for him to go down and play for Ipswich in League One. Absolutely no ambition on this boy. He's not even taken much of a pay rise. He could have stuck with us and been absolutely fine, but he's been grumpy the whole time I've been at the club. Enjoy League One, Jonathan. Oh, we have had a busy last couple of weeks of the transfer window. We have been rattling signings over the finish line. Liam Kitching signs on a free transfer. He was previously at Coventry. He's been playing regularly in the Championship for the last 3 years. Previously sold for over £4 million. Only 27 still. That's another good central defender. Patrick Roberts is also in. Yes, he's 30 now, but he's an attacking midfielder. Obviously can also play out wide as well. Lots of experience at this level. Been at Sunderland for the last 6 years, playing regularly in the Championship. So just a decent option as a rotation across that attacking midfield three. I don't know exactly where we're going to use him, even if we're going to start him, because we signed a few more good ones as well. Rodrigo Alonso is a central midfielder, but we're retraining him to play as a defensive midfielder, as our ball-winning midfielder. 14 tackling. He can kick people really quite hard. Look at that transfer value as well. He was previously at Villarreal, or Villarreal's B team, I guess. But, I mean, he'll be fine. He'll slot into that midfield. And if he doesn't, we've got another guy to be the ball-winning midfielder, Xavier Simons, who we were trying to sign before. 425 million. 425 million? We're a few seasons from that, just a few, but we are a few seasons from that. 425,000. He's been at Hull for the last goodness knows how long. Only started 3 games for them last year. I don't expect him to come straight in and start for us either, despite spending £500,000 on him. But he's young, he's got the potential to get better, and we needed bodies in central midfield. Ollie Scarles is a 21-year-old English left-back on loan from West Ham. He's 6'2" and can play centre-back as well, so gives us a bit of cover there. He's had a season on loan at Hull in the Championship. Also played at Plymouth and Bolton on loan the last couple of years. Joe Gelhardt signs on a free transfer from Leeds. Again, he's been in and around their squad in the Championship for years, obviously Premier League experience with Leeds as well. He's had a few loans at this kind of level. 25 years old now, but he's fine to be our backup striker and more cover in those attacking midfield positions. Relatively cheap as well, 2-year deal on only £5,500 a week. So that seemed like a bit of a no-brainer. Don't look at the salary on this next one. This is our headline signing. £34,000 a week for Alfie Devine to play anywhere up the middle. We're probably going to use him as the defensive midfielder, but could just as easily use him as the attacking midfielder. Haven't decided exactly where we're going to put him yet. £34,000 a week makes him comfortably the highest paid player at the club, and he joins at 22 years old on a free transfer from Spurs. Was on loan at Millwall for the last 3 years, played over 100 games for Millwall in League One, scored a decent number of goals as well, so I guess they were using him quite far forward. Decent goal return, actually, over the course of his career. 27 goals in 144 appearances. I suspect we'll end up using him further forward than further back eventually. And then we also brought in this guy, Lovro Zvonarek, who is another attacking midfielder. He is in from Bayern Munich's B team, was on loan at Hanover last year in the second tier in Germany. Can also play out wide on the right-hand side. Another younger player with decent potential. And then Luke Harris as our final attacking midfielder. We brought a few in. We didn't want to be left without any. He's on loan from Fulham for the season, potentially the pick of the bunch. Very good in central midfield. If we decide to go with the 4-3-3 that I've been training, he'd definitely fit nicely into that. As is, he can play as the attacking midfielder in our 4-2-3-1 that we've been using. He's 22 years old, was on loan at Rotherham in League One last year. Season before, he was playing for Fulham in this division. So he's another one with plenty of experience at this level, and it leaves our squad looking very, very strong now. If we have a look at the full squad view, there's not really a weakness in the squad. We could maybe use one more right back. Furlong is probably going to be on his way out of the club. We've accepted a loan offer from Melbourne Victory for him. Also Melbourne Victory in for Reece Burke as well. They might both be heading off to Australia, and we do kind of need to get their wages off the wage bill, because I was doing all this assuming the board would let me move all my transfer budget over into wage budget. Turns out they're not going to. The board will not allow you to increase the wage budget as they feel it's high enough already. We're £60,000, £70,000 a week over our wage budget, which would be covered by that transfer budget. But obviously that is going to upset the board that we're struggling so much with wage budget. So if we can get a few more players out, hopefully at some point they'll relent and let me move some of the transfer budget over to wage budget, or all of the transfer budget over to wage budget. But I suspect we're done with signing new players at this point because of that. And I think, to be honest, we probably don't need to. If we have a look at what the game thinks our best 11 is, that is a pretty strong looking side, a very new look front four. Powell and Alonso together in midfield should be very, very good. And that back four is very solid, and Ward should be fine keeping hold of that goalkeeping position for as long as it takes for Bajic to force him out of the team. But that looks like a very strong side to me that's more than capable of staying in this league. When you look at some of the players that are on the bench, Kitching, Roberts, Stewart, these are players with plenty of experience at this level. Gelhardt, another one. Clayton, of course, was one of our best players last year. Luke Harris played loads of games at this level as well. It's a very, very strong squad. Yes, we're overpaying a little bit for some players in some areas and we're over our wage budget, but the media now think we should be good enough to avoid relegation, looking at a 17th place finish, the best of the 3 promoted teams, as you would expect us to be, because we're the ones who finished with a crazy high points total at the top of League One, so we should be looking good. But I'm pretty confident that mid-table is probably in our future. We play Huddersfield on the first day of the season. Huddersfield are expected to finish below us. We learn a lot tomorrow. We should win. We should have points on the board by the end of tomorrow's episode. The transfer window still isn't closed. Obviously, we've got another month of transfer window, but like I say, we're not likely to be able to bring anybody else in. We're still trying to get one more loan in the shape of Amaro Nallo from Liverpool as another defender to come in. Purcell, we've moved down to our newly formed under-21 squad because we probably shouldn't have renewed his loan. He's not going to be involved in this first team this year with the midfielders that we brought in. But if we can get that guy from Liverpool, they will be our 5 loans. We're unlikely to use all 4 of the defensive ones at the same time, so still gives us a little bit of flexibility to use Purcell if we need to, but we don't want him to get in the way of Kingsley Aziz, so we've moved him into the under-21s out of the way, so I forget he exists, and hopefully he'll get recalled by his parent club. We can't terminate the loan ourselves, but fingers crossed they do the dirty work for us. But our first team squad is 27 players. If Furlong and Burke both leave and the guy from Liverpool comes in, that's 26. It's probably still 1 or 2 too many. We've got a lot of players who can play left back. Probably too many players. If I'd have really thought about it at left back, probably wouldn't have signed Wilson Esbrand because we already had Samuels, of course, who was our starter there last year. We've brought Scarles in on loan, and Blaine Chambers-Shaw was in and around the squad last year and looks like he's actually got a huge amount of potential, although he might end up playing in midfield anyway. We shall see. So that's probably an area where we could maybe lose someone, but we'll basically wait to see who gets grumpy first before we deciding who to get rid of. With the huge volume of transfers we've done, team cohesion leaves a little to be desired, but there's nobody unhappy at the club. And in addition to the 4-2-3 one we've been using for years, we are also training a 4-3-3, which might be a little bit more defensively solid this season if we decide that we need it. And of course, we've got the 4-2-4 being trained as well. So if we need to stick Stewart and Leeburn up front together to absolutely terrorise this league, believe me, it's there as an option. But I think that is a pretty good transfer window. Let me know down in the comments section where you think we're likely to finish this season. Oh, by the way, lost my assistant manager as well. Kevin Russell's gone to Forest, and our head of youth development looks like he's going to be leaving as well. So it wasn't me who got headhunted this summer as a staff member, but I am losing the other key senior staff members. Russell is at Forest in the Premier League, and like I say, John Morling, the head of youth development, is probably going to be heading to Sunderland. So we're going to need to replace some key staff members. I'm going into the first day of the season with no assistant manager, which is not ideal. We might even end up promoting somebody from within to fill that void. But for now, we are assistant managerless, which I don't really like. But if you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.